Appreciate you guys. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. I'll be like, okay, they have a question, and I can unmute you and call you out. For everyone else, at the bottom of your Zoom window, there's this little smiley face with a plus sign on it, and it says reactions. What that lets you do is raise your hand digitally speaking, and that lets me know, hey, this person's got a question, and I can kind of unmute you one by one and bring you on for any questions that you might have. And we can go like that. If you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to turn your camera on, okay? I hate being on video. I have a face for radio. If it wasn't my job, you wouldn't see me. So don't feel like you need to turn the camera on if you don't want to. And you can also throw the questions in the chat too, and I'm happy to answer those. And it can be about where you are in your business, about anything going on with Art Storefronts, about ideas you have, about pricing, about niche selection, about what's important if you're working on the wrong thing, the right thing. Been doing this for a long time. We have a little bit over 7,500 customers now, or 7,600 customers. I haven't even looked recently. And I get to see all of their data, which means I get to see who's actually selling and how they're selling, why it's working, and what sources they're using, and what's actually working to grow businesses rather than the majority of the nonsense that you hear out there. So we can talk about that. We can get into questions. Usually it takes one brave soul to start the question thing. Otherwise, everyone's like, I'm not going first. You go first. Somebody's got to go first. So I need somebody to step up. Who's it going to be today? One brave soul. Just need one. Anyone? Cameras on? Not cameras on? No? Oh, yeah, Brian, I got you. Good man. I didn't see it. I had it on grid mode.
Yeah. Hey, good morning again.
Morning.
Hey, can you just explain the gold package pricing and the Q4 package pricing? And if you get the gold package, you get like 6 months of website hosting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't even know all the packages, and it's just because I don't even want to learn it. I don't even want to go into their world. I think here's what I find, okay, and take this with all grains of salt completely. How much money you spend on whatever you sign up for is going to equal the amount of commitment you have to how seriously you're going to take it. I found that to be universally true, and it's one of the biggest things that sets us apart from everyone else. And it's total. You can't take it any which way but cynically, right? Like, of course I'm going to say something like that. But, one of the things that I've noticed is like when the commitment is really, really low, and let's talk about like all the competitors that exist out there. It's either a marketplace and it's completely free. It costs almost nothing, or it costs you like $10 a month. It's the various other website hosting providers that are like $10, $15, $20, $30, $40 a month, whatever it is, or something in between there. Everybody signs up for those. And then if they don't do anything for a month, they're like, whatever, it's $20, $30, I don't care, I'm over it. But when your commitment, when you give us thousands of dollars, you've already burnt the boat. There is no way you're throwing in the effort, right? So, it's like where you aim your dollars, you aim your heart. But you can also upgrade or downgrade at any point in time. Okay, they hate it when I say that, but it's true. And all I care about is that you come in with the right mindset, right? That you come in saying like, I'm in this to win this. I'm not going to phone in the effort. I know year one, I'm going to be wanting to pull my hair out of my head because I have to learn all these things, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to stay consistent, and I'm going to stay grinding, and we'll support you all the way around, down the line. But you can go up or down at any point in time you want. So don't feel like you have to kill yourself. Do what works for you, right? As long as you're going to be 100% committed. That is literally the most.
Yeah, sure. Well, it makes sense. Like I totally down with if you're going to go to the trouble to start, you might as well follow through,
Yeah.
So just trying to see how.
And it's the number one thing that everyone fails at. And the New Year's resolution is like the best analogy of it. And it's like, you guys don't want to do this thing. Okay, I know it now. Dead to rights. You don't want to do the business side. You don't want to do the marketing side, and you especially don't want to do it consistently. And year after year after year after year after year, you need to do this, right? Everyone knows they need to do this. They need to be doing more of it. And at some point in time, they get motivated, which is awesome. And then they get on the right track, and then no one tells them the perspective of how long it takes, right? Of how long it takes. And let me pull something up because I showed it. Like, we have these. I don't think he's going to get mad at me for this. I think I can do it. We have these like executive team meetings, right? Every single solitary morning, and not every morning, but like once a week. And we sometimes show wins in the deck, right? And here's this win from this guy named Bill. My small win today is simply reaching a milestone. Had my 1,000th order today, and one more came in right before grabbing the screen grab to put me 1,001. I wasn't even paying attention to hitting the $100,000 mark, so I guess I can celebrate that. And having 18,000 contacts, that just means he has 18,000 people on his email address. And I know some of you will ask, I started in 2017 and had 8 sales that first year, right? And I show that, and he was part-time for half of it, and then he got to where he is today. But I show that, but like 2017 to 2022, nobody ever wants to talk about that, right? Nobody ever wants to talk about how long you actually have to grind to get this business to where you want it to be. And we do. And the reason that we do is because if you don't come in with that right mindset, Brian, you're never going to get there. And I'm not saying you do or you don't. I'm just saying that's like the one thing that people default to not having, right? Like, the other analogy that I give, which I think is a really, really good one, it's like however long in your head the drive is, as soon as you get towards the tail end of the drive, whether you're a kid or not, you're going to start going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Right? So like when I do a 3-hour drive and I'm like 2 hours and 30 minutes into it, like I start moving in my chair. Like, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Am I there yet? If I'm on a 10-hour drive, I'm not even saying any of that nonsense till hour 9. So that's how I would answer it, Brian. Sales pitch with no sales pitch. the best I could do at sales pitch, no sales pitch. And I think you muted.
Hey, thanks for that.
Yeah.
No, we've got to chat with Matt a bit later, so we'll ask him as well.
Yeah.
And thanks for putting us in touch with the fellow Kiwi.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he? Are you guys from like close-ish place?
It's all small down here.
Yeah.
We probably know someone,
yeah. Everybody knows somebody. It is.
Come on down.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Come on down.
I'd love to. I have some friends that I grew up with that have family ties there, and so they go back every single solitary year, and I see all the photos, and I am nothing but, if not envious. Okay, Adriana's got a question. Your question is pricing. I paint, and I have heard that getting started, charging $1 to $2 a square inch is the way to start. What are your thoughts with this? Yeah, so I have some very definitive thoughts on this, Adriana. The good news is that I have like really, really in-depth, and I'm unmuting you, so if you want to ask any follow-up questions, I'm going to pull this up for you, okay?
Okay, if it's loud, my kids are loud in the back, that's why.
Are you kidding me? I've got kids. They are loud. They annoy me incessantly. I can't even begin to tell you why I'm pulling this up, by the way. I feel so bad because my wife and I both work full-time, and I got like the kids' report card, and the old ones, this isn't it. The old one's not that old, but I'm definitely raising them a little bit too much on the iPad. I don't know if your kids are that age yet. And my kid has like off the charts vocabulary and terrible reading. So that was my report this morning. Okay, so I'm going to send you this thing, and it's called Advanced Pricing Strategies for Artists and Photographers That Are Selling. Okay, and you need to read it. You need to read it from start to finish, because what it does is it utterly, totally, and completely solves any pricing woes that you would have on how to charge for things and how not to charge for things. Early on, everyone's idea is like, okay, if I just figure out what the price is, what I need to charge for this, or if I throw a dart at the dartboard, I'll know what to charge for this, and everything will be sorted. Nothing can be further from the truth. And I'll just say quickly at a high level, the only thing that matters early on is that the work sells. Okay, work's got to sell. If the work's not selling, I don't care what square footage you're priced at, time, material, this, that, or the other. Then once you have work to sell and it's selling, the way to really solve the pricing conundrum is just maths. It's just straight maths, but not the type of maths that you are contemplating. You have to have things priced from 0 to 100. You have to have things priced from 100 to 1,000, and you have to have things priced above 1,000. And so what you do is you realize, okay, how am I going to get to that range with what I have so far? And then you start contemplating the product lineup. And don't worry, in that post I go into it in depth. Then you contemplate the product lineup to get there. And then once you have the product lineup to get there, it solves all of your pricing issues. And the reason is you're arbitrarily trying to figure out, how do I get time plus material? What's the formula that automatically gives it to me this? And this is the beautiful thing about art, okay? It is an eye of the beholder. It cannot be comparison shopped, right? So I'm not going to scan your art and then go to my local store and say, what's 24 by 36? It can go anywhere. But once you have the range, then you establish value in your buyer's eyes. And when you have stuff like on the merchandise non-wall art side to really small paper prints, $0 to $100, then they understand what constitutes that level of value in your offering. Then when you step up from the 100 to 1,000 range, which are prints in various different types of medium up to small originals, then they understand that part of the value chain. Some limited editions in there maybe. And then your bigger originals are on top of that. completely solves all of these issues, because human beings have a fundamental problem attempting to purchase something without a basis for comparison. And so when you give them the basis of comparison, i.e. they can compare the high end of your range to the low end of your range and everything in between, you'll be amazed. You will be amazed. And I didn't figure it out. This is just like, business 101 stuff that they teach you, and it is just so true. And by the way, as important as that entire range is having something really, really expensive at the top end of the range. There's a famous story about a restaurant consultant, okay? And he literally designs, you call this guy, and he comes in and he designs the menu for your restaurant, okay? And he'll look at the menu all the time, and he'll create an entree. He'll say, you need to create an entree, and let's say the most expensive entree in the menu is $50. He'll create an entree for $75, okay, that they barely break even on, barely make any money on, and will include it on the menu. And what ends up happening is human beings, because they see that thing for $75 on the menu, they're like, I'm not ordering that, but I am going to get the Maryland crab cakes for $50, right? And it's this weird scientific thing about comparisons that we human beings have to do. It probably goes back to our caveman days. But no joke, read that article. It will sort you out and get going on those things. And ultimately, the only thing that matters is that the work sells. Once the work's selling, pricing is no problem. Pricing is no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I love talking about pricing. Pricing is like, honestly, it's like something that paralyzes you guys on both the business side and then also on the emotional side, right? Like all the psychology of charging what I'm worth and, oh my gosh, having to raise the prices and the fear that comes along with that. And then one Yahoo comes and something you've worked 20 hours on that you should be charging $2,000 for lowballs you at like $300, and you're deflated for like the next 2 weeks. Like all of these things are utterly, totally, and completely normal. Once you read that pricing article and you get that structure in place, you're such a better place. You're in such a better place. It just solves everything. And it turns out it's just maths. Like everything that we do in the art world is attempt to copy what's been working in the retail world for centuries. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to copy what has gone on in the retail world for centuries. And so that's what that pricing article will do. Just follow that thing to a T. If you don't want to read it because it's kind of long. No, it's not that long. It's not that bad. You can read that thing totally. But okay, does that answer him? Okay, let's get back to those kiddos. All right, who else, guys? Questions? Anything about anything? Everyone's looking at me like, what is this crazy guy going to talk about next? We can talk about the website thing at large if that's what you guys prefer to do. I got a pretty serious rant on that one. Yet another thing that most artists and photographers completely blow massively. Just blow it. Make every mistake imaginable when they contemplate a website and how they go about a website and how they approach it. You guys don't have any questions? Oh no, Sarah does. Okay, Sarah, are you clapping or are you asking? I can't tell. You'd have to unmute if you want to ask. I can't tell if that was the hand clap or the thumbs.
I get it.
Yeah, gotcha.
I get it. Okay. So I had my art appraised by one of the top appraisers in the United States. And she walked into the house and she appraised things from $43,000 down to the tiny little water mixed medium things that are like only $2,000, and it's really expensive. It's really I sold in my life about 70 pieces.
Okay.
All of them expensive. All of them. The first exhibit I had, I'm a ballerina and an actor, and while they were setting up the lights, I just started painting because I was bored with gossiping. And I had an exhibit on Queen Street in Toronto. And the opening started at 2:00, and by 2:10, I sold 15 paintings.
Wow.
Which is quite amazing. I couldn't believe it. But the truth is that I could not put prices on it. I had to have the gallery owner together with my boyfriend put the prices because I just wanted to give them away. I just
yeah, you're terrified. Not I know.
I was terrified, exactly. Yeah. And even even up until like 2 years ago, I was selling a lot, and some of them were commissions, huge pieces, and
Mhm.
some of them were the pieces that still exist. But I sort of like got totally paralyzed, and I really don't know how to get out of this, and I don't know how to get back into selling pieces. Um, I don't know. It was much easier when I had all of this media coverage. I mean, I was on television show. I was on the news. There was
Mhm.
like a whole, it was, and the New York Times wrote about me, and now it just, I don't know. It went into hibernation, and I don't know what to do.
Yep. You got to come back up, and unfortunately, just because the guy comes to your house and appraises it, doesn't mean that there's automatically buyers, knocking on the door
Exactly,
right behind him. That's
exactly, exactly,
yeah. That's
exactly.
another one of those things. Yeah, I
Right.
mean, you.
So I have zillions of followers on Facebook, but none of those people have money. I mean,
Nah,
at least
you'd
they
be
don't seem to have
surprised.
money.
You'd be surprised. Don't ever assume that all of your followers on Facebook have money, don't have money. The way that I like to describe it is that everyone's followers by and large, okay, and I literally mean everyone's followers for the most part, right? But everyone's followers fall into what I like to call sort of this socioeconomic bell curve, okay? And so inevitably some of your followers on Facebook are in the lower socioeconomic piece, the 10% piece, right?
Some of
The
them are.
majority are in the middle class, the 70% distribution, and some are in the upper class. I don't know, upper class, lower class. It sounds kind of crass in and of itself. Really, it's
Yeah.
it's the low end of the socioeconomic
So
status, lower middle class, upper
socioeconomically
middle
upper
class,
class.
high net worth
Right.
individuals.
Right.
Everyone's followers fall into that bell curve. And so your
Okay.
job is really just to have pricing for everyone in that bell curve. And then once you start marketing, you have something for everyone, right? And if you have a ton of those followers and you have fame left over from your dancing and acting days, you really just need to let everyone know that you
I
have art
still
for
am
sale.
acting and dancing. You know,
Yeah, so
it's like I have lots of people who want me.
yeah. And if
Yeah.
you've sold all that work, you need to sign up. We'll help you. Honestly.
Good.
Like
Good. Good.
especially,
Good.
if you sold the 75, well, what I have to qualify is, you know, did the 75 pieces sell mostly to strangers, or did they sell mostly to people that know you and wanted to, get your attention, or get you to dance in this troupe or that troupe or whatever, right?
Some of them were sold at a gallery
Mm-hmm.
in Soho, New York.
Okay.
Some of them were sold in the Del Bello Gallery in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
but the majority was sold to just people who saw my work, but not online. They actually saw my work and they contacted me, and some of them are actually collectors of my work.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So they bought. There's somebody who has 5 pieces, and they're not cheap. They're not cheap pieces.
Good.
Um, I just, I just find it so hard to pay the price of being the salesperson, because
I know.
there's always like a personal connection, and they sort of they start proposing marriage and all kinds of things like that, which is not a good idea, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
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 So I need to find some kind of a way where there is some kind of a buffer between me and the people.
Yeah. A website could certainly help with that. Although, I think you're by nature conflating sort of your background experiences, what you had in the past, with how it would go now. It wouldn't necessarily go the same way now when you try to do it now. But what's important is that you have that social media following to be able to leverage, right? And to start doing some marketing too, because everyone knows that you've been a dancer and everyone knows that you've been an actor, but probably very few even know you have art for sale. So step number one is letting them all know you have art for sale, and then step number two is having somewhere where they can go and buy the art, right? So I think once you start there,
Yeah.
that's a great place to be.
I'm sorry to just soak up so much of your time, but um, I published many of my pictures, and there are 80 responses of, "Oh, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it looks like real life, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
But since there is no price on it, people are not even contemplating
Yeah,
buying it.
and you're
People
not.
will see
Yeah,
my website.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is a common problem too, right? And you know that everyone else will relate to this, right? Like, you know, as artists and as photographers, what do we get all the time? Oh my gosh, you're so talented. You should try and sell this work.
I
Oh
know.
wow,
I
this
know.
work is so beautiful. This piece is so amazing. Or some artists and photographers, I have been in 6 or 7 juried shows, right?
I
Or
know.
I post to TikTok or I post to Facebook and I get 10,000 likes and I say the same
Mm,
thing every time, right?
yeah.
You hear that
I
knock?
know.
That's me. I'm
Yes.
out front of your house right now in the car. Get in the car. We're going to go drive to the closest ATM machine to your house. And then you show me the button on the ATM machine for likes, comments, shares. Everyone tells me my work is great. I've been in a juried show. None of that matters, right? The only thing that matters is
Yeah.
the work that actually sells. So it's one of the things that we fundamentally teach our customers to do too. When you get a buying comment or a buying question like that, you have to turn it into a selling conversation, right? My work is so
Which is
incredible.
something I need to learn how to
Yeah, yeah.
do because many
No, all
people ask
artists,
me.
almost all artists need to learn how to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
I suck. I
No,
mean,
no. It is the way, you know, I'm a faith-based person, so I say God, if you don't believe in God, whatever, whoever created you. But whatever the concentric circles are of the artist brain and the business brain, there's very little crossover. And I'm sorry, that's just like truth because it's happened. I've seen it so many times in so many different scenarios. But it's okay. You guys can learn. You just need to do it. You should go see a demo and sign up. We can absolutely help you. Sarah, we really
good.
can. Yeah.
Good.
And
Thank you.
where are you from originally, just out of curiosity?
I was born in Budapest, in Hungary,
Wow. Wow.
but I've been a gypsy all my life.
Yep.
At 12, I started dancing with the Royal Ballet and then with the New York City Ballet, and I did movies and blah blah blah. And I started painting in Toronto.
There you go. See, you have a story to tell there. I think, Sarah, I think you have a story to tell.
Yes.
But I'll have somebody follow up with you. We can help you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, I saw another hand go up and then go down. I don't know if anyone else had a question. What was I getting ready to rant on? I can't remember. Oh yeah, Brian, I got you. Don't worry. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah. So when we sign up, it's a process from there. Is it like monthly, weekly Zoom calls, or how's the training carried out?
So yeah, it's a great question. So we sort of have we it's the easiest way to think about it is it's like truly a university now. That's like what we morphed into. And in a university context, there's textbooks, there's classes that you have to go to, and then, you know, there's like essentially office hours where you're going to go and see the teacher and say like, hey, I need some one-on-one help. Can you help me with this? All of that goes on all year long, nonstop. Like in addition to that, there's like a calendar that we give you that says like, here's what everyone's doing this week. For the most part, I mean, there's times where you can say like, no, I'm not going to, I'm taking this week off. I'm not going to do it. We don't want you to do that. We want you to do what's on the calendar. But there's also a calendar that tells you what to do. So early on, because things have changed for us and we now are building everyone's website for them rather than them having to build it. All you do is you get started, all the images, all the titles, the About Me, your logo, you send that to our tech team. They build the entire site for you, and you immediately get going on the first marketing initiative, which is basically the grand opening party, right? Letting everyone know your store's open and everything's for sale. And then you're just right into regular marketing. And we have full-blown sessions Tuesdays and Thursdays, every single solitary Tuesday and Thursday, where we teach on various different subjects. Sometimes it's topic specific. Sometimes it's about the big sale that's coming up. Your challenge is just going to be time zone based, right? So, when you really want to get like one-on-one Q&A or that type of thing, you're probably going to have a late night or early morning. But for you, you'll just
what time?
Watch
what time are they doing?
Like right about now.
Oh yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, okay, good. So that works, yeah. And so what's weird about it is the same phenomenon you see going on here, right? When I started opening my fat mouth on this, there were 23 people on the Zoom. There's still 23 people on the Zoom. And what I find is, as much as I love the quality and the caliber of the teaching that we have done, right? Like, here's how to run a live art show, start from finish. Every bit of nuanced trade craft, when to write the emails, what subject lines to use, the technical side of how you can go to live on Instagram, how many pieces to use, how to think about pricing, all of that incredible stuff. my customers learn as much sitting on these sessions and not saying anything and hearing the questions the other artists and photographers do as they do from like the hardcore teaching material. And I don't have any idea why that's the case, but it's the case. It's why 23 people are still on this call and most are not asking questions. Like, people love to learn from the questions that their peers are asking, because it's like the iceberg thing, right? Like, if one person's got that question, there's 30 people below the ocean that also have that question, you know? So the Q&A portion of the sessions are pretty important too. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, cool.
But it's literally week in, week out, like
weekend
50 weeks a year, and it never stops. All we do is just keep adding to it.
Do you just jump in as a beginner and just start coming to the classes, or is there beginner classes?
Yeah, no. I mean, we have some like initial onboarding things, but you know, the one adjective my customers use more than anything else is overwhelmed, and there's nothing we can do about it. You're gonna get fire hosed right out of the gates, and it's gonna stay that way for like a year and a half until you've done everything. And I've just come to terms with it. I'm gonna be like, you're going to be overwhelmed. You are gonna have multiple freakouts, and you're gonna be like, I can't do this. When do I have time to create? And our only job is just to keep you taking steps forward every single solitary day. Because what happens is, you get like a year and a half into it, you wake up one morning, you're like, wait a minute. I remember I stressed for like a month on how I was going to run that sale, and now I ran a sale last weekend, and it was like that, right? And once you start rolling, it really gets good.
Let it wash over you is the term we use in my trade.
Yeah, you have to. But also true, like, prior to the pandemic. Okay, so what, like, are we almost 2 years ago now? It all seems like a blur, doesn't it? I was never once on video, ever. No one in the company was, for the most part. We didn't run any classes, none of it. So that's sort of when we started running the classes. Before, we just had like the DIY education. Here's the guide to run Facebook ads. Here's the guide to social media marketing, email marketing, whatever, how to run a sale. DIY stuff, just learning your own pace, go read it. No one... And we thought we were awesome at that point in time, because no one had that type of material like broken down on how to sell art and photography. No one completes it on their own. It's no different than all these sites like Masterclass, Kajabi, eLearning, Lynda.com, whatever, you know, any of Kelby's courses. No one finishes them. The rate at which people purchase those things and finish them is like less than 20%. It's like 20 to 30%. And the reason is no one likes learning at their own pace in a vacuum, right? You need to be in classes and sort of have other people interacting with you. And so we started running the classes, and here's where my whole point with this. We started running the classes, and the fact that all of these other artists and photographers would sit in there and hear about everyone else's situation, we're like, what is going on? Like, early on too, like, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Some of these sessions were going for like 2.5 hours. And I'm like, people are sitting on for 2.5 hours. I'm like, what the hell is going on? This is not that good of a movie. And what we've come to realize is the support of going through these struggles with a cohort of like-minded people is the game changer, right? Because you're going along, and right when you're about to hit a wall and crash, there's this person that's been going along the class with you, and they just got their biggest win of the entire year. And you're like, how did it happen? What did you do? What can I learn from it? I did such and such. And they talk about it, or they post about it in the Facebook group. And it's like, if you don't have that little community, like pulling you when you're down, because everyone's on their own roller coaster, and the ups and the downs are so normal. And what most people do when they don't have any support is they hit one down and they quit for 3 weeks, a month, and they're done, right? Or even longer. So come to find out, there's something that we don't fully have distilled, other than if you're going through with you're like a group of your friends, like, you know, that thing I showed you earlier. What
do you think the top 20%, or, you know, like, can you tell me what the top customers do to be successful? Like,
I can.
How
it's just one thing.
How they embrace?
They market consistently, and they never stop. There is no magical formula whatsoever. And trust me, I've tried to look 1,000 different times. Meaning, I have access to everyone's data, right? So I can see what everyone's total sales are, assuming they put them through the platform and they didn't sell them on the side, right? Because we have plenty of people that do all that all the time, which is totally fine. What their total sales are, the size of their email list, how many sales they run a year, how many Instagram followers they have, how many Facebook followers they have, what their average price points are, how many items they have in their store. I have all of it. I have all of it at my fingertips. And we used to look at it on a regular basis with the same premise that you have in your head now. Like, there is some sort of magical formula that for this business just works. And don't get me wrong, there's guidelines, like I was talking about earlier in terms of pricing, this, that, and the other. But the utter folly of this business is thinking you can compare yourself to someone else and have it somehow be predictive of revenue for you. And the reason is because there are so many variables that get into the equation and that change it.
Sure.
The connection that you have with your viewers, the subject matter material and how diehard people are on it. And, you know, I tell this story very loosely, and I'm going to change names and faces so the folks can remain anonymous.
Yeah.
We have my point is I learned these lessons the hard way because my mind is exactly where yours was a couple of years ago. This person in question has 1.3 million followers on Instagram. Okay, they're a big deal for a number of reasons. The other person, I think they now have like 10,000 followers on Instagram, but back then they had 5,000 followers on Instagram. And you know, I'm the marketing guy a couple of years ago, so it's like I'm going to go do these case studies where I have my marketing initiative, which I know is a genius thing to do, and we're going to run it with this person. And because he's got 1.3 million followers, he's going to absolutely destroy it. The gal with the 5,000 Instagram followers outsells this other guy 50x. 50x. It's not even close. And there's alchemy in it. It's alchemy in the subject matter material that she does, and it's alchemy in the connection that she has with her audience. And of course, not all followers are created equal. But me as like a marketing guy and a business guy, if somebody would have said like, these are your two horses at the race, which one do you want to pick? I wasn't picking her. I wasn't picking her. And I have no way to explain other than all of these other variables that go into the equation. And so the only real takeaway is the most successful ones are the ones that stay at it consistently and do so for years and years and years. That's it.
Cool.
That's it.
So we're going to talk to Matt shortly. And last question is, you know, what would you do if you're in my shoes now, or our shoes, my wife and I?
Yeah, I think.
So we're about to.
I think, you know, steel yourself for the journey, and give yourselves the permission to be at it for 3 to 5 years until you even worry about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
like when you write that mental check that like we're gonna treat this like a real business, except it's not a real business. Like, you know, this is the other fundamental difference about a creative business that no one ever talks about. If you and I started a restaurant, and that restaurant isn't kicking ass, bringing in money in like 3 months, we're seriously going to start questioning what's going on and say like maybe we have like another 6 months of revenue, of runway until it breaks even. That ain't how it works in the creative space. You have to give yourself the space, the runway of multiple years to get the business up and humming, right? And no one talks about it. Everyone thinks it's a get rich quick scheme. This is case in point, right? His first year, he had 8 sales in his first year. Now, this guy was working a completely demanding job. He managed a restaurant, which retail sucks. And so he had a very difficult first year. But, you know, this is a guy that he's going to be over the 1 million mark in a couple more years because he understands, like, you have to stay at it. You have to keep grinding, and you have to keep building a business like any other. Like, being a creative, and it doesn't matter whether you're a musician, whether you're doing what you guys are doing, or like, you know, whether you write novels, the business dynamics are just not like other businesses. It takes longer to spin these things up. So my advice to you is come to terms with that, you and your wife, and understand that you're on this little marathon. You're not on a short little sprint, right? And don't get me wrong, there's all kinds of things that we can check, right? But once you get started, you're like, we're going to look at everything year one. At the end of year one, we're just going to keep our heads down grinding. Then we evaluate how we did year one, because over the course of the journey, you very well might have to make some changes in terms of the subject matter material that you're creating. But if you guys want to do this and you want to make the haul, if you come in saying we got 3 to 5 years to turn this into a real business, you will be insanely successful, and that's it. That's it.
Safe advice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but will you take it though, Brian? Will you take it though? Is the question, right? But it's important. It's important.
Here the second time.
Too. Yeah.
You know, I'm here the second time, so that's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good sign for sure. But I love being transparent about it, because no one like gives themselves the proper time horizon to be successful, right? And then they quit, and then they quit, and then they quit, and then they quit. But they can't turn off the creation thing. So they're still creating the entire time, but they don't ever take the business part side because no one's told them the truth. And that's the truth, right? Like we're not selling magic beans here. We're just going to sell you the support and the education to get you going there. And
I agree. I've talked to quite a few people. I've said, tell me how much of your business, when you talk to artists who are, it's their business, they said it's 80% about the business, 20% about the art.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited about getting into the business side of it, to tell you the truth. So treat it as a business.
Yeah, it's super, super fun. And it's also, at the end of the day, it's a game of archery. And if you want to hit the bullseye, which is, let's just say the bullseye is the revenue goal that you and your wife have envisioned for the business that you would like this thing to do. And let's just say that it's $100,000 a year to keep the math really, really easy. Everyone's problem is that they think as an artist or a photographer, okay, I'm going to go and just grab the arrow that I want, which is the subject matter material that I'm creating currently and that I'm good at and that I find is creative, fulfilling, and that I enjoy. And I'm going to pull that back on the bow and I'm going to let it go and I'm going to hit the bullseye with one shot. That's not how it works. That's not how it works in the game of archery. That's a very low mathematical probability business. And that's why so many remain in the hobbyist zone. When you realize it's a game of archery, that you're going to have to fire a bunch of arrows at the target, and some are going to miss wildly, and some are going to be in the top of the target, and then eventually over time you're going to start hitting bullseyes. And it's the same example I give every single solitary time. Pablo Picasso, who, by the way, was like one of those weird guys who would never talk about his own death, so he didn't create a will. 45,000 unsold works in his inventory when he died. 45,000. And everyone's like, this is one of the greatest painters of all time. So incredible. Anything that he painted just sold instantaneously. Bullshit. 45,000 unsold works. I mean, that's insane, right? So part of what he learned, the whole journey all the way through, we're just because you create something and then you go to sell it and it doesn't sell like hotcakes right out of the gate, it doesn't mean you're a crappy artist or a crappy photographer. Sometimes it means you just created something that didn't resonate with an audience. Welcome to Business 101. Do you know how many products have been created that didn't work? Doesn't mean you go out of business. You just have to get it right? So the larger rant was, it's a super fun journey, Brian. It's a super fun journey.
Super. Yeah, we've been talking to some printers down here. So, since your last talk, I've been to New Zealand Institute of Professional Photographer Conference. It was really good, and managed to talk to someone who can do fulfillment out of New Zealand internationally. Awesome. So it'll work.
And don't even overthink that or spend too much time on that. Get one person that says, "Yeah, I can do it." Order a sample so you confirm that they can do it, and then forget about them, and then go get the order, and then figure out if they can really do it on the first order. That's how you roll.
Yeah.
We'll teach
I'll do an order myself.
Yeah, or you can do that too.
That's good. Right, I'm going to have my coffee and then get going. But we'll talk to Maddie shortly. So about 20 minutes.
Cool. Cheers. Enjoy the coffee. Hope to see you on the inside.
Okay. See you guys later. Thanks, team.
All right. I feel like I'm running out of steam. What else, guys? Any final questions before we call it? I will certainly send you an email. Yep. All right. I see it. 1 second. So I will certainly send you guys an email after the fact that'll have all the details, everything that I mentioned, went over in the presentation. I think you guys heard me mention it, but one of the new things that we started doing in the last month and a half, is it? I think a month and a half is we don't even let you guys build the websites anymore. We build them for you. We find that it's like such a waste of time, energy, and effort because you guys need to be working on your marketing, and oftentimes because you have to go through the whole technical hurdle of learning how to do that, it ends up taking you longer than it should. So we're just taking it away from you now. We'll build it. We need the images. We need the descriptions. We need the prices. We can help you with the pricing, obviously. We need the About Me section, and we build the entire thing for you. So you don't even build the website with us anymore. That's over for the time being, which I think is another interesting thing. So I don't know how long that's going to last. We're sort of testing it. But okay, Sarah, do you go?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I got you. Go.
Yeah. how do I create NFTs? My work really lends
You
itself.
don't. You don't.
You don't.
No, you don't. It's
Why?
like because what is the most difficult maneuver to do in ballet? Whatever that's called. Whatever that's
Yeah.
called. Yeah, whatever that's
And go
called.
to the tail.
You're
Yeah.
saying like, Patrick, how do I do that? And do you know what I
Yeah.
say? You start with being able to do the pas de chat. Okay? You start with being able to do the
okay.
pas de chat. Don't go all the way to complicated land of NFTs when you can't even pas de chat yet. Figure out the pas de chat, and then you can contemplate NFTs. You don't need to worry about NFTs right now. Trust me, I saved you a massive headache.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because I stored so much and so many pieces in a short time. I mean, in a very short time. People just love my work. They really, really do.
Exactly right. That's why we've got to start selling it.
But it was always somebody else selling for me.
Yeah.
I was not doing the selling because that freaked me out. And it overwhelms me exactly.
Yeah.
It's
still gonna freak you out, but that's all good. That's par for the course.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for
Okay. Thank you.
And crypto is like totally crashed, since
I know.
since never to meet you again. Since it was at its peak. And yeah, I could get into it. I'd buy crypto. I started buying Bitcoin, not holding enough of them, but I started buying Bitcoin when they were like $24 so many years ago. So I love crypto. I love all that it pretends, but yeah, the NFTs are not a big deal yet, and it's going to be a while till they are. So that's what I'd say. But all right, guys, thanks for sticking out with me on the session all the way to the end. Appreciate you guys. We kind of covered some ground. We went here, there, and everywhere it felt like, which was kind of fun. Yes, I'm going to send you some follow-up reading, which is good. You can peruse it. It'll be everything that was in that video presentation up front, with some additional details about this, that, and the other. Otherwise, you should definitely subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. It's called the Art Marketing Podcast. You can find it anywhere podcasts are. It's myself, members of my team, ranting about all the latest and greatest in marketing land. Or you can find us on YouTube too. There's a ton of great stuff there. But I'll send all that to you in an email. And I appreciate y'all. Hope you all have a great rest of your days. And see you again soon.